Hello indie game fans, since I and many others do love pixel art games, it's inevitable that long in development titles tend to get repeated, so here are 15 new, never before seen titles on the channel to check out. These have at least a 2021 release window, as were the titles covered in my previous video, so check these out if you have not, and to find out what this game is. We kick things off with an amazingly vibrant action platformer, Chenso Club, where aliens have invaded Earth and killing them only makes things worse since their remaining life force does bring to life inanimate objects. You play as a variety of characters sent to destroy the aliens, with action looking to be akin to that of a platform fighter, and there are two modes announced: Endless, which looks like a wave-based survival mode, and Versus, which pits two players against each other. Love the look, which makes it a no-brainer. Hopefully the game structure for this will keep the experience compelling enough. Adeona is a classic Zelda-style action-adventure RPG that looks pretty fun. Of course, I do have to mention Tyrant and Alundra as well, being fan-favourite titles, but the gimmick here appears to be a colour-changing mechanic, where a protagonist can swap between different states, which grants her new powers. Classic in design with combat, puzzles and exploration, one interesting thing to note is that this appears to be a free title, so certainly drop it a wishlist and wait for release. For more upcoming Zelda-style action-adventure games, check out this video linked above after you're done with this. I've often commented on how certain games have bad names, and the opposite of that is Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator, which has a cool look, a fantastic name and interesting systems, which is exactly how to make an impression on me. The description is in the title, where you play as a black market dealer in organs, having to buy low and sell high, while seeing the narrative effects that these have on the world in a manner akin to Papers, Please. I love weird, unique titles, so this gets a spot. Of course, I was very impressed with the look of Cats and the Other Lives, a narrative adventure game where you explore the reunion of a broken family through the lens of their house cat named Aspen. It's set in a sprawling manner, where the passing of the patriarch has caused the family members to reconvene, with each having their own share of secrets and demons, so very much like the setup of the movie Knives Out. There appears to be some supernatural elements as well, although I'm not sure if those are spirits or just some way of showing the events from the past, but wonderful pixel art and is not to be missed. Developer Serenity Forge has been nailing it with the slice of life adventure series Half Past Fate, and Date Night Bowling looks to be in a similar space but focuses on the bowling minigame and the experiences of going out on a date, looking wholesome and delightful. Big fan of developer DYA Games, who are known for their pixel art, with titles like Strikey Sisters, Bot Vice and most recently, Viviette under their belt, with the next title, Evil Tonight, continuing on in that horror game direction. However, this looks to be a little bit more action focused, where you play as an exorcist who has to explore creepy locations and to take out the enemies there, with the trailer showing off the combat already looking pretty good. The pixel art does make the horror title less skin-crawling, but fantastic enemy designs and sprites that are totally worth a look. Talking about things going full circle, Gods of Sand is a gladiator management title that looks awesome and interestingly, is inspired by the Swords and Sandals series which I've talked about before, going back to Flash game history and being an influential series. Very curious about the combat systems, so definitely down for this. I was super impressed with the look of Intravenous, a top-down stealth action title with the option to go loud, looking of course very much like Hotline Miami but with a much more deliberate pace. Love the teaser and cannot wait to see more. Sunblaze was brought to my attention via email, where this Celeste-looking precision platformer is full of spikes, projectiles, saw blades and moving platforms, looking like it could be a real challenge and is one for fans of the splatformer. I like my tactics titles as well, so of course Tyrant's Blessing got my attention, being an isometric grid-based one of these with an explicit Into the Breach inspiration. It is fantasy instead of sci-fi, but uses that same 8x8 grid with 3 player characters, cutting it perhaps a little bit too close, but I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. There are 10 unique character classes, and is set in the world of necromancy, where the so-called Dark Blessing means that any living unit that falls in battle will be resurrected as a member of the undead, inclusive of your own heroes, which could have an interesting tactical twist.
Everything began 6 months ago, the day of the wreck of the AES Annabelle Lee. I could never imagine that my salvation would come in the form of the monster that destroyed my own ship. Later, I understood that my extraordinary journey started right there.
Mr. Verne, we are on the right path. Go on.
Jules Verne is one of the most prolific authors of all time, with titles like Journey to the Center of the Earth and Around the World in 80 Days having had a profound impact on the world, where Verne, the Sheep of Fantasy, is a fantastic adventure game that shares many of those same elements. A classic adventure game with a steampunk setting, explore the unknown in this gorgeous title.
Entry mines. Move!
How could a bookworm like me stop the most intelligent and boldest man in Hemera?
I cannot remember if I covered Vesper Ether Saga before, so here it is, but it's a deck building tactics title with fantastic character sprites and interesting combat, and how I would love to have the skill to make this sort of art. There are RPG elements for your units, much like Fey Tactics from last year, with unit, attack and magic spell cards to manage in combat. It's episodic in nature, with the first to be released sometime this year, and since it looks great, it gets a spot. I was impressed within the opening seconds of the trailer for The Longest Road on Earth due to the details shown off, and even more impressive is that they managed to do it with monochrome. I often remark how this colour scheme is very difficult to get right in games, since if done badly, it just makes the game look really dull and boring, but the various shades of grey used here does give it a wonderful look. The narrative does seem to be open-ended and up to interpretation, which captures snapshots of the human experience despite being told through anthropomorphic animals, and could be an introspective journey that's worth going on. An impressive looking survival crafting title is Nemoid Survival Sandbox, looking to be quite the classic hunting, crafting and building title, but with one of the best looks that I've seen. It's from an isometric perspective, which might not be for everyone, especially how underground areas are handled, but given the success of something like Valheim, I'm sure that this stands a great chance as well. It does have online support, with 16 types of heroes with their own character traits and skill trees, ensuring some form of longevity and replayability. There are also procedurally generated worlds, factions to align with, an intriguing world to explore with spirits, an underlord living beneath the ground, romanceable NPC characters and more, looking to scratch the same itch as something like Terraria or Stardew Valley, and could be very neat indeed. I love classic JRPGs, so Jin Conception got my attention, not least because of the look, but because it has an interesting premise as well. This is a social deduction fantasy thriller that explicitly states that it is not like Among Us, since it's a single player experience, but there are traitors in your party and you have to uncover who they are. This could of course lead to some very clever twists and turns within the context of a JRPG, which I'm down for, although I don't know how they're going to pull this off, if you have to make choices to accuse party members, or if it's all scripted. Either way, the concept does intrigue me, which is difficult to do for a JRPG, so kudos to the team taking the #1 spot. If you have not already seen it, do check out my previous video on upcoming pixel art indie games for this year, and I will see you after the jump.